Again, Lemurian. This brutal man. There's something about this I like. Okay. Okay, tell me about the proportions here. I guess it's just stylized. Then we have this. Interesting, but I don't like the way it's done. This part here is cute. Again, why we have repeating? She looks very deformed. Again, this is not Atlantis, like this is Lemuria. Same as this is Lemuria. It's cute. This part here. This part here. Can't look at with people with masks. Really freaks me out. Cute here. The color here of her skin and the light. Hair is here. Kind of deformed. I mean, it's fashion illustration, that's what it's supposed to be, deformed, right? I like the colors here, just very nice, lucid. Very well done. Cute little fish. The colors also very nice, like here and here. Nice, I like this effect. More like an angel. Yo, is it a mermaid contest? Cute hair. Very nice. This is very nice. Very well done. AF for sure. I like the effect here. But then the dress is basic. I like the sleeves here, like this part. Neckline is nice actually. Colors, nice effect of being on the surface. Good work. Not from a design perspective, but rather from work perspective. Color combo here. Good work. The grid. Oh, very interesting colors. The hair color, the light on her skin. Okay, so mask up, mask down, I guess. But still, I don't like the mask idea at all. They did not need a mask there. But I get it, like, oh yeah, you're supposed to go like underwater and then have a mask. No, that's not how it works there. These beings had inner technologies set. Cool water piece here. No regrets. AI fashion. 5. Oh. But again, this is not Atlantis AI competition. It's Lemuria. Atlantis is different. Okay, who are we picking? This one? I don't think I can select 5. My loves, 5 is too many. This. I think I got 3. This one's like screaming AI. My loves, I can't select 5. I think I already selected this one. CZ, I remember CZ. Let's go. Where is that? Oh, this one. Right? Not really, though. I don't think it's that one. Guys, there's no way I can select 5. It's just beyond. Okay, I selected this. Okay, I'll take this one. Because this is more Atlantean, I feel. Not quite, though. But, like, come on, AI doesn't know what Atlantis is. Let's be honest. Okay, I'll take this. We've got 4. And this one. Yeah, just because of the colors. That's it. Again, the CZ that I selected in the beginning. How come? I guess I selected this one and we'll see why. Alright, let's go. Neutral. Don't think anyone read these.
Hi everyone, my name is Baishu, and in this video we're going to be briefly
briefly.
Discussing what a free city is. According to the UN definition, there are 195 countries in the world today. Even though there's a lot of cultural diversity and specific policies are often very different across the planet, there is actually not that much variety in the tools that governments use to run the countries. This might be a little bit surprising to hear because if you think about it, countries can be very different from each other. For example, North Korea and Denmark. But both of these governments, alongside basically every other government in the world, use the same tools. They use the same tools to raise money through taxes, provide public services, to administer justice, to maintain security, to regulate land, and to run their financial systems. So it doesn't matter if you're from Russia, from the US, from Egypt, from Japan, your government tells you which currency you must use for accounting and for trade, and this is controlled via a central bank. And all across the world, justice is administered through courts where the most senior judges are appointed by the government. Public funds are raised through a taxation system that is really complex and requires expensive expert advice to navigate. If these tools are all the same everywhere, it doesn't really leave much choice for normal citizens to choose which system to live under. If you believe that people deserve more choice in the rules that govern their lives, there are a couple of options available to you. You can try to influence huge structures and political or bureaucratic machines by voting, by writing letters to your representatives, or even starting your own political party. But it's often hard to change anything in these established institutions. Even if you manage to bring about some sort of change, this will be enacted as a one-size-fits-all solution for millions of very, very, very different people. The other option is to start something new and on a very small scale so people can voluntarily join if they want to. If it's successful and it delivers what that citizens want, it will probably grow and others will copy parts of it that are working well. And this is where the Free Cities Foundation comes in. Our goal is to give citizens of the world more choice by focusing on the second option. Free Cities Foundation is a non-profit organization that works with places that are innovating in some of the areas mentioned earlier. So, what then is a free city? We define a free city as a smaller territory that is adopting innovative measures to support human freedom and prosperity. It's important to focus on smaller scale projects because smaller places can better implement policies that are better suited for their local population, and if they get it wrong, they can quickly adapt and change and improve. The better the policies, the more quickly a free city will grow. We'd like to see many different free cities around the world trying out different ideas and seeing what works best. With many diverse free cities, people don't have to settle for one-size-fits-all solutions, but can actively choose the rules under which they live. And they can pick the ones that best fit with their own personal values and goals. But will more free cities lead to a more divided world where people don't cooperate with anyone anymore? Some people might ask. And the answer to that is not in the slightest. The opposite would in fact be true. If small territories decided to cut themselves off from the world, they would most likely not succeed. Smaller territories have more of an incentive to trade and cooperate peacefully with everyone else, and this allows them to benefit from economies of scale and the ability to specialize that comes from global trade. In fact, many free cities would form a vast trading network that would make the world more peaceful than it is today. This is what we're trying to achieve. We believe in the power of freedom to bring incredible prosperity to everyone, and free cities are the clearest way to achieving liberty in our lifetime. Are you interested to find out more? Then you should definitely visit our website at freecities.org, follow us on Twitter using this handle, and subscribe to our YouTube.
we're ready to hear from Mason.
So next up is Mason Lishina, who's going to introduce you to Atlas Island. Welcome to the stage, Mason.
Hi, Mason.
Honor. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. So, Atlas Island, it's a relatively new project, so I'll start by talking a little bit about who we are and what we plan to do. So we're an international community of liberty-minded individuals who believe in freedom and individual sovereignty. Our members range from classical liberals, libertarians, anarcho-capitalists, and they're all around the world. We have about 300 members currently. What we're looking to do is build a new society based on a few key concepts. The first of those being natural law and negative rights. Basically, we think that others should not interfere with your right to live as you choose, and as long as you leave someone else alone, then you should be able to free to do what you want to do. We also agree that all interactions between people within our community should be based on voluntary association and non-aggression, the core libertarian principles. Now, where we differ from other libertarians, which I used to be, is that frankly we're tired of arguing and fighting the political fight to make this happen. We want to achieve liberty in our lifetime, and we want to do it without arguing or convincing all the other people who have grown up in the state education system to agree with us. So what we've done is we've established and come up with a very pragmatic approach to achieving this liberty within our lifetime. So before I tell you about our approach, I want to talk a little bit more about our vision. So this project was inspired by the combined ideas of seasteading, which you heard about from Joe Quirk, and private cities, which you heard about multiple times throughout this conference. And we're looking to combine the best aspects of both of those ideas. So from seasteading, we get the concept that you can own your own vessel, and when you move out to international waters, you're outside the jurisdiction of any nation state. So it obviates the need to negotiate with the countries to try to obtain these concessions for special economic zones and all the political hiccups that can occur with that. In addition to that, the beauty of having your own vessel where you primarily live is, one, most of your investment is in something that you own, and two, you are able to easily move that vessel wherever you want. So if you're living somewhere and you don't like how things are going within your new community, which started out as a libertarian community, but may now have digressed into, a more socialist community, you don't have to sell everything and move this huge ordeal to move. You just take your vessel and you go somewhere else where you think that you're being treated better. So it really gives you that freedom to move without the hassle of selling things, or without the minimalism required to be a perpetual traveler. And from the Free Private Cities Foundation, we get the concept of private service providers offering governance and that marketplace of ideas, that marketplace, that communal square. Because as great as it is to be independent and free by yourself, really what makes life enjoyable is the ability to interact with others, to trade, to have a market, and to have that community that you identify with. So we're looking to combine those concepts and have floating platforms that are operated each as a private city, and that allow you people to bring their vessels to these platforms, dock there, and interact in this marketplace. And given that they'd be operating as free private cities, when you come with your vessel to this platform, you'd sign a resident agreement, which would lay out very clearly in contractual form what your interaction would be with everyone on the platform and with the platform itself. And the great thing about combining these two is not only do you get the benefits of the private cities, but you also have that competition, and it's a very low barrier of entry for the people who are on their private vessels, whether that's a boat, a sea pod, or an archetype platform. They can just move to another platform. So it really encourages competition between those platforms for residents and really lowers that barrier of competition. And will incentivize high quality, low cost governance. So what's the plan that we came up with? It's a 5-stage plan because nothing happens immediately. I mean, if I said, go buy a sea pod, live out in the ocean by yourself, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg problem. No one wants to live by themselves, and there's no one there, so there's no one to move with. So we came up with this 5-stage process to make this happen in a reasonable time frame.
We are here, we are there, we are everywhere.
Following that, we want people to actually start living together in a marina.
Is that
and then
normal
we move that
that I have
community
a
from a
board
marina
called
to a
aesthetic?
floating platform in a protected harbor where you can continue to develop technologies.
Yeah.
And then from there, we would go to a coastal community and finally an offshore community. So let me talk a little bit more about each of these steps.
It's quite aesthetic.
So stage one is the online community. That's where we're currently at.
This.
And here we're looking to build up our network, essentially, a network state, maybe a decentralized autonomous organization of individuals who are like-minded and share our goals. This will draw from a number of crowds. Seasteaders, for one, the people who are at this conference, anyone who's interested in private cities, private governance, as well as libertarians in general who become disillusioned with the process. And then there's a large community of people already living on vessels in marinas that we can draw from that, frankly speaking,
this is
often
so
share our
beautiful.
same philosophy but don't express it so explicitly. So we've got a large community of people to
Me
recruit
watching
from, and
my
the goal is to
boards
build up
after
a network
years.
of people with similar values. And while we're doing that, we'd like to compile a set of resources for the people who aren't yet living on vessels to help them make that gradual transition from living on land to living on a vessel, because it is a big leap into the water there. As well, this would give us time to develop a market of people, so the demand side of the equation, for companies like Ocean Builders or Arctide to actually build the technologies upon which people will live. There could be, like I said, the CPAW, the platform,
really don't
solar-powered
like the
catamarans. There's lots of options that are
all of
currently being
that.
developed. And I think once you have a demand of, 10, 20, 30,000 people who want to do this, it will drive that market of platforms and services. As well, it would allow us to have time to develop where we want to move when it comes to the marina and eventually offshore community. So in stage one, again, we're looking to build a network of people online, but even within that stage, we're going to encourage our members to start living on vessels locally. So that means you could buy a catamaran, you could buy a CPOD, wherever you are, stay where you are in the first stage, join us online, start developing the plan, but sell your house for $500,000 and buy a
This is
CPOD,
more
start living on the
Atlantean.
ocean. And then when we're ready to move to the next stages, you're already
This
prepared.
is
You've already
more
got that
Atlantean.
investment in your personal vessel that you own, and it makes it a lower barrier of entry to move to the next stage. So speaking of that, stage two, this is where we get people starting to live
beautiful.
together.
What is this?
Because again, a lot of this is based on the social and
Are we gonna
economic
like
dynamics
be
of
really
things.
enjoying
So once we have enough
pre-AI
people living on
artworks?
vessels in an area, so let's say you've got a lot of people living in Florida, Texas, Louisiana, then you've got another group living in Europe in the
Aesthetic.
Mediterranean area. We'd like to identify a regional hub for each of these groups of people that is easy enough to move to,
think it's-
but allows people to move together.
Our favorite dancer
And we're looking
ever.
again at one location, at least within the United
Barış'ın
States, or at least one location within Europe. That way people can move to a location without worrying about immigration issues. Within the Eurozone you can move, and within the United States you can move as well, and that will allow everyone to move into close proximity. And the advantage of this is not
I miss
just
New York
that it
because
gets
of
everyone in
these
one
kind of
place, but
images.
that we also start developing the actual community.
Yes.
Because again, you don't want the chicken and egg scenario. And if we're in a harbor, or in a marina, next to a city, you have all the resources of the city, but you also have that chance that now let's say there's
There's
20,
such a
30 of
good
us living together. One
crystal
of us is a plumber,
positioning.
one of us is, a physician. We have all these different people with different skills, and we can start preferentially dealing with each other in a form of agorism. Number one, to start, enacting technologies like Bitcoin, blockchain, things like that. And number two, to build up that resiliency as a community so that we can actually supply the services that are needed to live a productive and enjoyable life. And I call this intra-marina economic ties that we look to develop. As well, during this stage, we continue to refining designs for the larger platforms, which is where the vessels would dock. And we'd start looking at formally how to develop organizations to raise funds for those platforms. Because when it comes to buying your own vessel, that's a purchase that each individual person would make and own on their own. But when it comes to the platforms, we suspect that those would be operated as an organization, whether that's a cooperative or a for-profit entity. But in either case, there's many options, and there could be a variety of platforms run in a variety of manners. And at this stage, we'd be looking to have the people come together to actually develop those platforms and those organizations. So once we've got that large enough marina community and we finalize plans for platforms, we would then move that marina community onto one of those floating platforms. So let's say you're in a marina and nearby there's a sheltered harbor. What you can do then is essentially take a floating barge and put a bunch of docks next to it, connect them all together, make a floating platform that's got some space on top, that you can have some basic buildings that would serve as stores and marketplace for the communal aspects of things. And then the docks, where each individual can bring their floating vessel and dock up to that floating marina, as we call it, or floating platform. And the advantage here is that you'd still be in sheltered waters because you're in a harbor. So this harbor provides some protection from the elements of the open ocean, and it also provides that economic lifeline to the city that you're nearby. Again, we're going to work to develop the community connections within that harbor and on that platform. So ideally, at this stage, you'd start doing most of your economic activity on that platform. I mean, ideally, there'd be stores and restaurants and other businesses that you interact with, but it'd still be a short boat ride away to the main community, the main city nearby. So it allows you time to continue to refine and develop that functional independence necessary to actually move out and be a productive community. And while you're living on that platform, as I mentioned, it would be operated as a privately run platform. So you'd have that residence agreement by the general service provider operating the platform that everyone agrees to adhere to while they're on that platform.
Ultimate digital shamanism.
Additionally, in the
That's
harbor, you'd
so
start looking
nice.
at the other technologies that are necessary to live independently in the ocean. So that will be things like power infrastructure, water production, sewage management. All of these infrastructure pieces can be developed while you're in the platform, because in the harbor you still have access to those resources, and the next stage you won't. So that's, again, that kind of next step that we'll be taking in this stage 3 of the development. Moving on to stage 4, we take that entire platform, and maybe there's a couple of them in different harbors throughout the world or in a regional area, and we can now start moving them into an area that's offshore, but not outside of the territorial water. So I'm thinking, 5, 10 kilometers offshore, in an area that's still got close access to land, that is still within the reach of the Coast Guard if you need emergency assistance. And what this really is it's kind of like a final beta test of all the things you've developed in stages 1, 2, and 3. Because now you're essentially living on the water. You're outside of the harbor, you're in the ocean waters, and you should ideally be self-sufficient, but it still gives you that time to test out the kinks and work out all those details and make sure everything is ready to go for the final stage. The important point to know is that in stages 1 to 4, because you're still living within the territorial boundaries of your host country, you would still be abiding by those laws. So really what this is all a lead up to the final stage where we actually do achieve that liberty. And in the interim, you can, like I said, enact some principles of agorism. So start using Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, and start having a more private economy with these cryptocurrencies. But functionally, you still have to obey the laws of the country that you're hosted in. So once we've got enough of these and we've kind of become comfortable in the coastal area, then that's the time to actually move this community out into the open waters, which is stage 5, the offshore community. And like I said, the beauty is by this time, we will already have developed a community. There will be a large number of people living on multiple platforms, and they will have already tested these technologies close to shore. And they will already have developed enough of a circular economy that you can be functionally independent from an economic perspective. Obviously, we would still be trading with other people, but you're not looking to make grocery runs to the mainland every day once you've gotten to this stage. So we would then select a location based primarily on weather. And there's a lot of areas, particularly in the equatorial Atlantic and Pacific, that are conducive to reasonably priced platforms being stable in the ocean, where we could locate this platform and bring all these platforms from around the world into one location, which is what we would call Atlas Island. And in case you haven't picked up on it yet, Atlas Island, the book Atlas Shrugged, is where we got inspiration from. So everyone who wants to leave will have a location, not Galt's Gulch, but close enough that we can actually move to and have that freedom that we're looking for. Again, these platforms would operate as private cities, and at this stage, they would actually be providing all the services of a governance organization, because we wouldn't be having, the Coast Guard or the security forces of the nation. So at this stage, we'd be functionally independent. What does that mean? It means that we'd essentially be operating as a cruise ship. So while we would be flying the flags of the country to maintain legality, make sure we're not flagged as pirates and taken down by the navies, it would mean that we would have as much autonomy as cruise ships, which is quite a lot. And additionally, because we have so many different platforms and vessels here, would be a fairly large market for the flags that we're flying in. Countries like Bahamas or Panama or Liberia, they would potentially be open to negotiation at this stage for further liberty. So we start off with the liberty that they're offering under their flags. For example, you flag in the Bahamas, you already have no income tax and relatively few regulations. But when we get out here, we can then start pitting these against each other and basically saying, hey, Bahamas, you want to keep our business instead of us going to Panama? Why don't you offer us this additional liberty that we're looking for? And then you can have a marketplace not just of platforms that you dock at, but flags that you fly that provide that underlying governance framework. So that's kind of the overall plan. I'll just kind of summarize it again to make sure everyone's on the same page, because I know it's a lot and I could have talked for an hour and a half on this subject. But in summary, we're an international community looking to achieve liberty in our lifetime through a combination of seasteading and private cities concepts. The primary idea is that each person would own a vessel that was completely theirs, and over that vessel they would be sovereign. They would then use that vessel to dock at platforms. Those platforms would be operated as private cities. And because you have so many individual vessels and so many different platforms, there would be a true marketplace of governance with a very low barrier of movement between them.
Wow.
Which would encourage the development of good quality governance at a low cost and different options based on what people's preferences and desires are.
That's quite.
And not just that, but because we take into the concept of seasteading, you don't just have competition between governance providers, but you have competition between flagging states for both those governance providers as well as the individual people on their vessels. So the amazing thing about this is that we can have essentially as much liberty as we want. I mean, we're not going to raise a flag and say that we're a sovereign country and demand that we be elected to the UN, because frankly, I don't care about that. I just want to be able to live how I want, and have the freedom to escape the current system. And the beauty of the way that we're approaching it with this is, number one, it's a feasible and stepwise approach. And number two, is that this is all
Liberty.
entirely possible under the current legal regime of Admiralty law without any political discussion,
Everyone
debate,
wants some
or argument.
liberty.
So we can stop arguing, we can start seasteading, and we can incorporate the concepts of
Yo,
private
the
cities
thing with
to allow
Mason,
us to achieve
thing with
freedom
seasteading,
without
I
any need
don't
for
feel like
negotiation, and
standing
without any
on the
threat that
sea.
negotiations that we had would be revoked.
How are we gonna
So
go
thank you
about
very much.
that?
I appreciate your time
only
listening,
Slavic
and I'm happy to answer questions outside of the
lands
booth after
will
my
have
talk.
to come together without being standing on the sea.
Thank you, Mason.
Tell me, Mason. Okay, we got some more from the Free Cities. Who else we want to hear from? Liberty. Oh yeah, Liberty of Our Lifetime. Can you invite me to sing at your next conference? I'll be singing this song for us. I think it's pretty clear. Liberties. Everyone wants some liberties. 'Cause everyone knows some liberties. Everyone wants some. Let's talk about the Honduras one. Viera. There's always a Metaslav present, huh? You can't get away from us. Maybe this one. I mean, we're gonna have to listen to all of them.
Oh, our next speaker, I believe if you were already here yesterday, you will be familiar with already. He is Francesco Litve. He is a Brazilian digital nomad and an online entrepreneur. At the age of 17, he moved out of Brazil, and at 20, he opened his own company. That's very impressive for such a young age.
It's okay.
He specializes in flag theory and how free and special economic zones can help with offshoring and internationalization. He is the Adrenopoli Group's head of internationalization and the co-founder of SETI. And today he'll be talking to us about autonomous zones across the world.
Yo, these are the designs I want in Metaslavia. Please.
Testing. Hello, is the mic working? Can you guys hear me? Loud and clear, also in the back. All right. It's working here. Cool. Well, hello everyone. If you were in the talk yesterday, you already met me. Today we'll be talking about a different topic, not about flag theory. Well, partially also about flag theory. But the main topic of today will be geo-arbitrage and international opportunities in special economic zones. My name is Francisco Litve. I'm the co-founder of SETI and the head of internationalization at the Adrianople Group. Now, before we start, I'd like to tell you a story that illustrates the importance of special economic zones. The year is 87 BC. Rome has just fought this death match, this horrible war against Carthage. All of their men are dead. Their fleets have been sunk. Their treasury, bankrupt. And yet, after fighting this horrible war, a new enemy emerges. This enemy is the city-state of Rhodes. And what's interesting is that this city-state is incredibly wealthy and becomes this new sort of rival to Rome. Rome must destroy Rhodes in order to survive, but it cannot do this militarily because it's depleted. However, Rhodes has a critical weakness. Their entire government income derives from a 5% tariff that they charge at their port. And so what the Romans do is they establish a free trade zone in the nearby island of Delos, charging a 0% tariff. The way that the legend goes is that within a decade, Rhodes was so bankrupt that they came to the